Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Elivaras, and welcome to the first episode of Here We Go number 3, where Pippington, leading the forces of the Greenskins, takes on No Ma-Am, leading the forces of the Vampire Counts. This is the fourth 1v1 tournament hosted by the Total War Warhammer Discord. And this, I'm not exactly sure which round this was. This was a 5-round Swiss tournament. I believe we had 14 or 16 participants that ended up playing. Essentially, how this tournament worked was you would pick 3 different teams that you can bring to the tournament. So those are the only 3 teams that you can play. You pick ahead of time so that there's less emphasis on counter-picking your opponent, and rather it comes down to which factions that you actually pick to play with. So in this case, No Ma-Am is playing the Vampire Counts, and Pippington is playing the Greenskins. Definitely a very interesting matchup, as we have seen through my last video. A hard one for the Greenskins to win, due to the Vampire Counts obviously being very survivable with their invocation of Nehek and being able to scare the crap out of the Greenskins. Greenskins, of course, known for their low morale, low leadership, and most Vampire Counts units cause fear, and a lot of them cause terror as well. The other issue, you can spawn Raise Dead on the Greenskin backline, or you can spawn it on the backline if they have it, like these archers, but you can also spawn them behind the front line to get that rear charge morale penalty, weakening their morale even further. So we'll have to see how Pippington combats this Vampire Count army, and let's hop into the comps as we go into the match here. We can see a lot of Orc Biggins and Savage Orc Biggins from Pippington. We've got Azag the Slaughterer on his signature Wyvern, and a lot of arrows. Now, from my last video as well, if you have watched it, bringing a lot of arrows versus the Vampire Counts is a risk versus reward kind of thing. On one hand, if they get caught by cavalry or Raised Dead gets spawned on top of them, they can be useless and you lose a chunk of your army. But on the other hand, you can gun down stuff like the Cryptors and the Mortis Engines very easily with them. So we'll have to see how that ends up working out. More Orc Biggins in the backline, providing a lot of anti-cavalry support. Tons of them. More Orc Airboys there. We've got a Knight Goblin Shaman who's bringing along... let's find out here. If we can get close and kind of switch over to the card. I hate this. I hate how you can't just look at the card. Just Sneaky Stabbin', which is not a Winds of Magic ability. So that is it for the Greenskin army, and now let's hop into the Vampire Counts. We can see we've got a front line of Graveguard, going to be hard for the Greenskins to break through due to their lack of armor piercing, and also due to their lack of Black Orcs, which is really the only elite armor piercing infantry that the Greenskins have. They don't have anything else to pierce armor, which so we'll have to see how that works out. Oh yeah, and I forgot to say there's a giant in the Greenskin army. Moving back to the Vampire Counts, we've got 2 units of Cryptors, we've got a Corpse Cart with an Unholy Lodestone, we've got a Mortis Engine, and we've got the classic Manfred von Karstein, bringing along Spirit Leech, Invocation of Nehek, and Raise Dead as per usual. We've also got the Sternsman on the right flank, and unit of Cairnwrights in the center, and off to the side here, we've got 1 unit of Blood Knights. Off to the other side, I thought I saw 2 loading into this. I guess only 1, unless I'm missing it somewhere. Looks like only 1 unit of Blood Knights. So let us hop into this battle and see how things end up working out. We'll speed up a little bit here as there's currently deployed pretty far apart. Looks like the Greenskins are going to be marching forward first. And let's see what Manfred is looking to do here. Looks like he's just going to turn right around as archers start to fire on Manfred. Now, right, of course. He did Spirit Leech Azag. That's what he did. Looks like I missed it there. Getting a nice early Spirit Leech on Azag. And looks like Azag might be going in. This is actually Azag, right? Yeah, I kept saying Orc Warboss. This is Azag. And it looks like he's going to be casting... I forgot to cover his spells, but it looks like he's going to be casting a Fate of Buna. Yes, Fate of Buna and Spirit Leech. Fate of Buna is going to absolutely decimate these Cairnwrights. This is why I think Azag is such a good pick against the Vampire Counts. Because... there's a bunch of issues you have as Greenskins, right? The first issue is obviously the leadership. But the second issue is ethereal. You have literally 0 magic damage if you don't bring Azag. And we saw in the video of Shaxiel versus Bretonnians, when the Green Knight was there was nothing, essentially nothing the Greenskins could do to bring it down because it's ethereal and they didn't have any ethereal damage. But we can see because he brought Azag, because he brought Fate of Buna and Spirit Leech, well, not so much Spirit Leech, but Fate of Buna here, he can absolutely decimate the Cairnwrights in essentially 1 spell cast. Which otherwise would have caused havoc to the greenskins since they didn't have any magic damage. So Cairn Race essentially already obliterated 9 units and crumbling. Bad news. Undeath Resurgent is popped to try and keep them in the fray, but I would say it's a bit of a wasted cast because there's nothing really... because there's nothing that's really going to keep these guys alive here. They're essentially dead. We do see an Invocation of Nehek going down, raising some Cairn Race back from the ether, or wherever they were spawned, actually doing quite a bit to heal them up here. We can see he did force Noma Am to waste a Invocation of Nehek early on. Invocation of Nehek are very, very powerful spells from the Vampire Counts. If you can get them to be used early, then, you know, less Winds of Magic, the better when you're facing the Vampire Counts, as Winds of Magic, or their magic spells, are one of their most valuable tools. Now we can see Cairn Race are going to be moving in onto the Giant, and lines are going to be clashing here. I'd say this is the best case. Get the Giant fighting the Cairn Wraiths. Get the Giant fighting the Cairn Wraiths because the Cairn Wraiths are going to be a pain in the butt for Greenskin Infantry to fight. And then their Terror and Fear won't have as much of an effect because it's a Giant. It's got better leadership than most of the Greenskin Infantry. We see a lot of Archer Fire pouring into the front of Manfred von Karstein. I think he's getting a little too hasty with this Raised Dead, and he's unable to get close enough, getting knocked back. We're going to see Spirit Leech coming down, or no, Invocation of Nehek. It looked like a Spirit Leech was coming down there. Invocation of Nehek coming down. It looks like Manfred is going to maybe go down here very early on. You can see he's getting, yeah, he does spawn the zombie unit, but we can see he got a little bit over aggressive there and just ran face first into 4 units of archers. Get the Blood Knights charging around first. See, this is one of the things you can do in the early game, right? You've got both armies marching towards each other, and they're quite far away. What you can do in this scenario as the Vampire Counts is you've got the cavalry, right? Before these lines engage, get the cavalry in a position where they can actually do things instead of when the lines engage, they're like over here and can't do anything. If the cavalry were over here, you could have charged the Blood Knights into the back line, right? Take out a lot of these Orc Erebors, at least force them to run, and then Manfred could come in and spawn zombies instead of Manfred coming in solo and getting focused down by 5 units. Because as you can see, he's essentially already dead here. He's taken so much damage. Spirit Leech coming down. Azeg in pursuit. We got more Archer Fire coming down. It looks like Manfred is going to go down. 68 health. He is crumbling, and this is going to be the end of him. Now we can see all Archer Fire turns onto the Corpse Cart with Unholy Lodestone. But we do see here, right, Cairn Race providing a problem, terrifying the Orc Biggins. Even though they were at such low health to start, you can see how much havoc they're wreaking on the Greenskin front line right now, even at such low health and with so low units. With such a low unit count currently. We can see now, the Blood Knights now charge in, and they're absolutely destroying these Greenskin Error Boys, or the Orc Error Boys, right? They're already taken off the field, already routed, taken so much damage just from a few seconds of a Blood Knight engagement. If the Blood Knights had been there earlier, they could have charged in and absolutely decimated a lot of these Archer units, and then Manfred could have come in. Right? And now we can see Azeg charging down on this Corpse Cart with an Unholy Lodestone that was being focused down. And we can see how strong the archers are in this case. Right? They focus down the Mortis Engine, focus down the Corpse Cart with the Unholy Lodestone, and just absolutely decimate the key units of this Vampire Count army. But the battle's not over yet. A lot of the Greenskin force that's remaining are just the archers here. Now, actually, they do have a decent amount of Orc Biggins. And we can see just after a few more seconds, the Orc Arrow Boys taking care of the Crypt Horrors are wreaking havoc to these Orc Biggins. The biggest issue for now for the Vampire Counts is going to be finding a way to kill this Giant, especially with Manfred gone. They don't really have much, you know, good damage versus large. Really, their only hope is Crypt Horrors, but Crypt Horrors are going to get the crap beaten out of them by a Giant. Giant is going to try and run this Mortis Engine off the field, but not fast enough to catch it. We can see elsewhere in the battle now, arrows are going to be turned onto the Crypt Horrors, and this is going to bring them down really quickly, obviously, with very low armor. They just need to get into the fray as fast as possible, but they're taking so much damage on the way in. Cairn Race finished off, but they do manage to get a charge, the Crypt Horrors, that is, and the rest of the arrows are already going to be kicked into routing. We can see Blood Knights got caught in a not-so-good engagement against the Orc Biggins. Right, Blood Knights are fast enough. They don't have to get caught in this engagement, right? They could just go around and circle into these Orc Arrow Boys. Blood Knights have, what, 100, or no, that's Azeg, 70 speed versus the Orc Biggins 31. They could easily have just gone around there and got a charge into the back, but instead, they decided to get caught in this poor engagement for them, right? They're probably still they're still going to do a decent amount of damage, probably rout them from the field, but they could be much better used elsewhere in the field, especially killing this horde of archers that are currently way too clumped up. Little bit of a mistake from Pippington here, keeping his archers too clumped up, right? Definitely want to separate them. Obviously, there's not as much threat of a raised dead here, but as we can see, right, Cryptors charge in. Let's say they were at higher health. If the Cryptors charge in, you're going to have to retreat all 3 Orc Airboys units. And during that time where they're all retreating, all 3 cannot be firing or doing any damage. If they were spread out, the Cryptors, well, obviously they can't stand there, but just for the purposes of this, the Cryptors would only be able to charge into 1, and the other ones could keep firing instead of all 3 of them having to run away. Definitely something that a lot of players can work on, and something that I definitely need to work on when I play. We can see, though, the Stearnsmen. This is going to be the tough unit that the Greenskins are going to have a problem defeating. Probably one of the best ways they can do it. Obviously, they have shields, so Orc Airboy's not going to do as much damage to them. Probably get the Giant tag teamed with some of these Orc Biggins units. That'd probably be their best bet. Mortis Engine proving a problem for the Greenskins as they don't have the mobility to take it down. I'd say the best course of action for Pippington right now, right, these Graveguard are already on their way out. They're crumbling. They're about to be disintegrating. Get Azeg into this Mortis Engine. Bring down this last key vampire count unit that's keeping them in this battle. Let's see the Giants stomping into the fray here. Blood Knights pouring in. There's not actually much else for the Blood Knights to do in this particular engagement. What they should be doing is just kind of finishing off the archers. Right, come down here, finish off these routing archers, potentially charge into these Savage Orc Biggins that are coming back. But you don't want your Blood Knights in a sustained engagement, especially against a Giant. They are anti-large, but they're going to take a ton of damage in the process, especially when also being surrounded by Orc Biggins. This is looking pretty poor right now for the Vampire Counts. Pippington's definitely played very well in this engagement. His archers working to great effect to bring down a lot of the key Vampire Counts units. And we can see now it looks like anything being casted. They're being hit by something. Someone's being hit by something over here. Not exactly sure what that is. Apologies for some of the lag here. And we do have Azeg the Slaughterer popping Foe Seeker and Wa. Now, Wa's not really being used to great effect here, as Wa is in the current, and he's fixing that right now. But something to note is that Wa is not an instant cast ability, right? It's not like you're standing here, you cast Wa, and it's just like, okay, everyone gets 58 melee attack for this duration, for a given duration, right? It's a constant cast. So as soon as Azeg moves away, if Azeg's standing here and he moves over here, at that point, you know, none of these units are getting the plus 58 melee attack, so you definitely always want to be, when popping this Wa, right, he should have Azeg right on top of this engagement, which it looks like he's going to do. Now, what Azeg needs to be doing here is just kill this Mortis Engine, right? There's not many Vampire Count units left that can actually threaten him. Just get this Mortis Engine off the field as fast as possible, get rid of that regeneration from the Vampire Counts, and seal the deal here. Cryptors getting the snot kicked out of them. Same with the Blood Knights. Stearnsmen were at high health, but the vast amount of greenskin troops that were left just proving very hard for the Vampire Counts to deal with. The Vampire Counts did not come in with a ton of numbers. Obviously, the Karen race got decimated very early on, but then the rest of their infantry just consisted of 4 Graveguard and Cryptors. Cryptors, while good, are very expensive, and now that greenskin players are starting to bring a lot of archers, Cryptors may not be the best tool for the engagement, as they will get shredded very hard by archers, as we can see is happening. And now they're focusing on the Mortis Engine, also hit by a Spirit Leech, and it's going to be all but over for Noma Am, and Pippington is going to take this match as the Mortis Engine explodes in an array of colors, or really only one color, blue. Alright, so taking a look at the stats here, Blood Knights did absolute work. 211 kills, wreaked havoc on the enemy backline. He could have done more with them, right? You didn't need to get caught up with those Orc Biggins. He could have easily charged around them. Probably just a micro mistake. If he charged around them and gotten into some of the archers earlier, that would have really helped. Okay, I think the biggest point, though, is Manfred von Karstein in the very beginning, right? Obviously, he's going for that raised dead, but he's just running full-on into 5 Orc Airboy units. It doesn't matter if some of them have to turn and run. There's going to be more that are firing at him, and he's going to get absolutely shredded by 5 units of arrows getting fired at him. That was very poorly worded. He's going to get shredded by 5 archer units firing at him. And what he should have done, as I mentioned earlier, right, you've got all that time in the beginning. What you should be doing, especially if you've got the cavalry advantage, is get your cav into a position where they can actually do something, right? You want to have all of your valuable units or all of your key units engaging at the same time. You want to surround the enemy. You want to have them getting slammed from the front, charged from the back, hit from the side, all at the same time. You don't want to engage from the front and then a little while later then charge from the back, and then a little while later charging from the side. You want to force them to have to split their concentration so that they have the opportunity to make mistakes. If they can focus at one area at a time, there's less of a chance that they'll make mistakes and more of a chance that they'll be able to catch everything and obviously focus on that one segment of the army at a time, right? So he charges his front line in. He can focus everything on killing the front line. And then the Blood Knights come in. Then he can focus things on the Blood Knights. But if you charge the front line in, then the Blood Knights in, then Manfred in, he's going to have to split his micro between a whole bunch of different things, and Pippington probably would have ended up making a mistake that could have cost him, right? Blood Knights charging into the back, so Pippington's got to reroute units from the front line to the back. Instead, because the Blood Knights were so far away, he was able to send all of his units to the front line, essentially destroy the Vampire front line really, really early, and then there wasn't much left. The Blood Knights came in way too late, and while they did do work, they could have done a lot more and caused a lot more havoc on Pippington had they been sent in earlier. Get them in position, then send Manfred in. And that also brings me to the point that I'm going to reiterate here, of if the Blood Knights were in the backline, if they were causing havoc, if they were destroying the archers, they wouldn't have been able to fire on Manfred, and Manfred wouldn't have been taken low so early. Then he could have spawned the Raised Dead, distracted even more units. The Blood Knights could have finished off some of the others. Manfred could have charged in or done other things instead of getting shredded super early on. I think that was the key for the Vampire counts. He needed his Blood Knights in position earlier. That way he could have already distracted a bunch of the archers, and then Manfred could have come in without getting hit by so much archer fire. And we can see these archers didn't get many kills, but that's because they were focusing on Manfred von Karstein, they were focusing on the Mortis Engine, they were focusing on the Corpse Guard. I'd say especially now when fighting against the Greenskins, there's two tactics that Greenskin players use to overcome the Vampire counts. That's either blobbing up with very powerful monsters, so a lot of giants, like the Arachnarok, for example, or it's spamming archers. And bringing a lot of either low-armored units or single-entity units, especially, Manfred being a huge target, and this Mortis Engine, this Corpse Cart, is now starting to be really detrimental to the Vampire counts, because 5 units of archers, right, focus down Manfred, focus down the Mortis Engine, focus down the Corpse Guard, focus down the Cryptors, and you've taken out a huge part of the Vampire counts army, right? So I think you've got to be very careful now when playing as the Vampire counts and facing the Greenskins. Always be on your guard for those archers, because if you get caught unawares and get hit by a ton of archers, you're going to have a huge, huge problem and going to get shredded super early. And I would say a key pick here for Pippington, definitely Azag the Slaughterer, right? Get those Cairn Rice out early. We see how fast, there was 15 units, and they were routing Orc Biggins off the start, right? Even after getting hit by a Fate of Buna, which essentially reduced them to almost nothing. They get hit by one Invocation of Nehek to bring them up to 15 units, as I just said, and 20% health. And even then, they were able to rout Orc Biggins. If they were at full health, which would have happened if there was no Azag, and therefore if there was no Fate of Buna, they could have caused a lot more havoc and been a huge problem for Pippington. Instrumental pick, I would say, is definitely Azag the Slaughterer, because if you get caught unawares by a horde of ethereal units, Greenskins are going to get torn to shreds. So I hope you enjoyed this first episode of Here We Go in the form of a pseudo strategical analysis. There's going to be more footage of this tournament coming your way in the near future. And now a slight update on videos. Why haven't I posted in the past week? Unfortunately, I have started engineering at university once again, going into study term 2, and sadly that means that I am super busy and will not be able to upload for the most part during the week. So my apologies for that. If I can, I will try, but probably expect a video once per week, and in some cases once every 2 weeks if I am unable to do it on a certain weekend. So, if you like the video, feel free to like. If you dislike the video, feel free to dislike. Any and all feedback is appreciated. And if you would like to support me and help me continue to make this content, then hitting the subscribe button would again be much appreciated. So, I would like to thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Cheers, guys.